wealthier women in commercial real estate to give to humanity without limits. Welcome to Ladies Night with Stephanie. I'm really excited that today we have Barbara Heil-Sonneck, and she is an entrepreneurista and a dream builder. So we're really excited to have her speak about legacy building, that is around significance and not success. Barbara, thank you so much for coming. Can you please just give us all your wisdom?
Absolutely excited to be here, and thank you for the invitation. Energy is high. I have to catch my breath a little bit. So drinks are all good. I have the water still next to me, so maybe at a certain point I have to grab it, but all fine. Everybody can hear I'm a very southern girl. You can hear it right down the road, very southern. And that is really from the southern part of Germany, smaller university town called Würzburg. That's where I was born and raised. So everybody knows, in general, not everybody, but a lot of people know Bavaria. And what they know about Germany is the Oktoberfest. So here is the good news and the bad news. So the good news is I still drink beer and I love it. But the country, the city I'm from, we are wine country. So we are all about beautiful wine and have beautiful vineyards. We're not exporting as much. You can't hardly find any of our amazing wines in the US. It looks like we're drinking it all. So that's like a little background from where I'm coming. No, beautiful historic town. A lot of the cruise ships are stepping there. So anyhow, so why did I leave? I was in corporate for a good amount of my life, climbed the corporate ladder, started smaller, was promoted, managed a local team, did some expansion, and then signed up for a couple of European projects. I had to go to Paris once a month, roughly, explored that city quite a bit, and at a certain point led a consolidation project in England. I could dabble there for a couple of months, and also Ireland, which is an amazing, beautiful country. And then in approximately 2 weeks, I had to make a decision. There was an opportunity popping up for an international assignment in the US, and I was asked to take it. But I only had 2 weeks because the project started 2.5 weeks later. So I had to make the decision pretty much to leave everything behind, pack my bag, and pretty much move. And that is really what I did. I packed my suitcase, came over. I didn't know anybody. I met the new boss I had just at a conference in Italy for one evening. And then I knew pretty much approximately 15% of what I was supposed to accomplish. So I had 15% knowledge of the project and the goals. And I spoke the language, I would say, it was a good school English, but it was definitely not up to the level I speak now. And even now, I sometimes tell people, sorry, I didn't bring my translator with me. Sometimes I might pronounce words a little bit different. So if it sounds funky to you, please raise your hand and ask. So that was my story here. And there were moments where I actually felt pretty pushed, and there were some crying in the corner nights when I came home, but I managed it and I really pushed through it, and the project got extended, and later on they hired me onto the team. Company applied for the green card, and the rest is history. So I didn't go back to Germany. I stayed here. So that was my corporate career. Throughout all of these little ventures, I always had side gigs. Even back in Germany, I was running some marketing consulting. So I always had a little side business, no matter what I did in my life. So here I learned about real estate. So I started with another friend and colleague of mine to buy single family houses. And some of them we renovated and then resold. Others we kept. I fell in love. Then I dabbled into, which is not specifically a recommendation I would give to any investor, but coming from the history, I fell in love with these historic houses. So I renovated a couple of historic houses, and that is like you're opening a can of worms because you never know what is behind the walls. I still made money in this renovation and flips, and started with that outside of designing the project also to add decor and furnishings, and also did that for a couple of investor friends I had. So out of that concept, a second company concept was born called Design to Sell, which is a company, home staging and design and short-term rental company. My team now, and I'm actually running for 15 years in the Atlanta market. That's like a little bit the story. It was really only myself. I was at that point in time, I was in my end 20s, and I actually was just getting out of my first marriage. So I pretty much left everything behind, packed my bag, and started over. So that pretty much was it. So I did not know anybody, and I had no connection. And as long as you think culture is similar, but it is not. So it was actually quite a struggle in the beginning to make some connections and find some life outside of work. Everybody was very friendly, but there's a difference, right? You have to make deeper connections. And that took quite a while to get in, understanding that the way people form connections and make friendships is a little bit different than the way I was used to in the past.
So I'm curious, you said you only had 2 weeks to make that decision, and
Yep.
was like a military kid, like we always had to pack up and move everything like pretty quickly. We got really down to a routine, but we were used to like that kind of mix all the time and the jolted kind of life. And we even got to move abroad. And so we moved in England. I understand, oh, it's the same, but then no, it's so not the same at all. I understand that cultural difference too. Even in the military, we know at least 2 months ahead where we're headed. So, how were you able to confidently make such a life changing decision in 2 weeks?
I think sometimes you have to jump, and I felt that this was an amazing opportunity. I was originally, in the career path in corporate. You know that at a certain point you are leaving your city and go somewhere else, or your country to go somewhere else. The majority of our assignments were in general in Paris or in France. That's what I was originally expecting. I didn't expect that I would really go far. But then I thought, why not, right? Specifically, since it was already one life-changing event with my separation, I felt, okay, that is an opportunity, let's do it. But I could not have done it without my team. I actually have to admit the team I was managing were amazingly helpful. I know when I left, they actually asked me for the key for my apartment. Like in a 1 or 2 days, they threw me a goodbye party. They bought in all of the burgers, and they had the American flags up, and they did an amazing support structure for me. Of course, part is like it was sad to leave them behind too, but they were also very happy for me and for the opportunity. And so they helped with some of the packing, and friends, of course, they helped to get that all going, because again, there's still a whole apartment I had, and I had just moved into this amazing, beautiful penthouse type of apartment with miles of a view into the Black Forest, which I loved. So you had this 2-story little penthouse thingy, and you were out on the balcony and you saw miles. And I was waiting and I was negotiating so far to get into this beautiful place. And then a couple of months later, I had to say goodbye to it too. But it's all okay. I had it, I got it, I had the experience. I could see into the Black Forest, and now I was seeing something else.
It's really beautiful that it was like, okay, I'm ready for a shift. And even though this was my goal, it doesn't have to stay that way. We can shift to other things confidently. And also, you said his team is really important, which I'm just
Absolutely.
finding more and more just to be absolutely true.
And I think you have to let that happen too. I think that is the other part. You have to allow others to help you. Sometimes we might be too broad. There's maybe pride. maybe we feel we don't want to bother. But there are actually people like to help. So it's okay to ask for help and put it out. On the opposite side, it's also absolutely okay to request responsibility or ask for 100% responsibility, which is such a key element when you're driving and managing team. I manage teams from a size of 12 to 300 people. So it's a huge variation, but at the end, it comes all down to how you pile it up towards the results and in what way you want to go. And maybe something which is a little bit different to a lot of others, I have jumped and changed careers in different ways. Just to give you a little bit of snapshot of what I have done. I worked for a small insurance company. We're setting up their organization. After that, I actually worked for a model agency. Didn't like it. It was interesting. You meet a lot of interesting people, but it's not my cup of tea. It was too flashy, it was all too fancy, it was too much long nights, similar to the movie industry, if you ever have been exposed. So it's interesting and it's fun for a while, but it's not my cup of tea. So felt it was a little bit too much for me of what I was looking for. I looked a little bit more seriousness in things and was probably also a little bit more balanced. So it was not my cup of tea. After that, I started working in the publishing industry for magazines and pretty much managed up to assistant management position. And whoever has worked in book publishing or magazine publishing, this is cutthroat on numbers because you only have 3 to 6 months to ensure that the magazine is either successful or the plug is pulled, and it will be pulled from the shelf and you are done and the whole team is done as well. So very structured approach. And if you're good enough, then you're rehired to another team, but it is very success focused and allows or requires from everybody to stay aligned. After that's actually when I met my first husband in the video production environment or Dell Computer in Frankfurt. So my husband moved to Frankfurt. I said, okay, don't want to start a marriage with like long distance, and took the opportunity to work for Dell Computer in their management. They are packaged a lot of deals between the computer hardware and the software. Had actually the opportunity and was interviewed by Michael Dell in person, which was a nice special situation. So enjoyed that. From that, my team, my boss actually was hired by IBM. And that is when he and the team went to IBM. He left after 6 months and I took over the department. So that's the little story before I came to the US in a quick nutshell. But I have done a lot of different ways, but there's always transferable skill set. And I think that's another big lesson, utilizing transferable skill set from all of the positions we're holding. It's okay, people doesn't have to be in the same industry, but you can shift and utilize that skill set. But be very clear also what your superpowers are and what are the things you might not be as good as, and hire the people who supplement and support that skill set you do not have.
This really interesting that you said that, you have the skills get set wherever you go. You can just use that in whatever industry. And I know I felt in my own past, oh, I'm just trying to go to a different industry, or I'm like, I like different things. And I found that also to be somewhat true for myself. I think there's more that I could opened up each way along the way and going, oh, this is actually a transferable skill, not I had the mindset of, oh, I have to start over and learn a whole new thing and I've got nothing to offer. That's just a bad mindset, because really everything that you have, you can use wherever you are. So I appreciate that mindset for sure. So when you're talking about success and significance when it comes to legacy building, like how do you not get distracted in just being so success?
I think, success is always in the eyes of the beholders, if that makes sense, because it can be completely different depending on how you define it. It can be small or it can be big. It really depends about your dream. That's why I said it's like dream builder, and you have to have your goals. You have to have a clear vision of where you want to be, because otherwise you're losing the track. And don't get me wrong, down my way and down my path and in my journey, there are times, and there have been times, where I was deeply struggling. Several life events as I very young lost my mom. She died, she had cancer, and she was suffering for 2 years. I was 10 years old when I learned about it, and it was a hard time. My dad loved mom very much, but her loss put him into a hole. So therefore, it was a whole different environment where other young ladies started their teenage years. I tried to play like the little girl at home, trying to make sure that we had the food on the table, and you went shopping and did other things and made sure we kept it together. Unfortunately, my dad also started drinking, so that was not a plus either. For the longest time, I did not even want to talk about things like that, kept it very private, and I think also based on how I was raised, certain things you're not even sharing or you're not even talking about at all. But it were some tough times, and down the road, my dad had the wonderful opportunity to meet another. I was very happy. I was really welcoming her with open arms, and she always treated me like her daughter. So great experience there. And up to this day, we are a patchwork family, and I call it my brother, sister, even so we are not from the same blood, but we're a strong patchwork team, and we have made it work all together, supporting each other and the family.
What do as one of your top accomplishments?
I think it's like stepping stones in life. Part is, I think my mom was always the driver. She wanted me to be a doctor for whatever reason. That is what she had set in her mindset. It was not down my road, but I was always driven to get out and make something different. As I said, telling it in the book, I was mentioning as well, my family comes from, they lost everything in war. So they were running, and pretty much with similar when I lost her in that age, they were just running for their lives. They had to leave everything behind and started whole family in one room, started to work on the farm, and were building something up again. All the men died in war. It was only the women. So there was always a network of very strong women surrounding me, my aunts, but always hard workers. They still made it. They had this little farm. I spent all of the vacations. It was always inspiring. They made a lot out of nothing, but they never lost their positive attitude towards the world, and no matter what was thrown out there, they were really strong and were venturing too, and I'm very happy to get that. I know I was venturing off. Steph, get me back to that original question so that I can answer it, but it was touching me for whatever reason. I wanted to share that.
I think that's really important to remember too. Like part of that story is you're running, there's really no place to go. It seems like the bottom of the bottom, but at the same time, there's still something to learn and
absolutely. And part is a milestone. That was the good part. Things moved on. I left my home very early, I think 17, 18, ventured out, was actually in a relationship which was not the best for me. Had also a business relationship. Out of this business, when I decided to leave, there was $500,000 of debt. When you're 18 years old and you're talking about covering because I signed papers I was not supposed to sign, it's quite a struggle. It's quite something where you suddenly feel, okay, the world goes under, right? It was absolutely extreme. On the good side is I always, maybe as a certain gift, had negotiation skills. And in that partnership, of course, I also knew a couple of other things. So I utilized that as just getting out of that mess. I got myself to a certain extent out of that mess, I think paying off for over 15 years after that. But what I also decided that something like that will never happen to me again. Never have signed a contract without knowing all of the major implications of anything after. Big learning there too. So yes, to trust. And I have not stopped believing in people. even if negative things are happening, I never stopped with my mindset that I see the good first. I'm never questioning it. But I also feel strongly you have to do your due diligence. I go always in with open mindset. So getting out of that was a major milestone. Learned that for sure. Really starting entering the corporate world and being promoted into management was another milestone, telling me that I can do it. I can do it. And from the assignment towards the US, starting here a team with really minimal knowledge and only a basic school knowledge about the language. So you're not only struggling with something you don't know well, you also struggle with the language in pulling this all together. And I managed it, and I actually moved it towards success. So I think that was definitely another milestone. The first book I published in 2007, in 6 months from starting that this is what I want to do, to really putting it out there. Another milestone, finding my Mr. finally in my life, and my son, another big milestone in my life. But it took longer. I am turning 60 next year, so it's my last year in that scene of the 59, right? So this before the 60, and it has a big meaning. And I wish there were a lot of things I would known much younger and much earlier, and would have been able, that somebody puts me aside and teaches me more about how you can create wealth and money. So that's different because it's a skill set I was not exposed to. I think now there's much more opportunity to do that. So that's the goal. So allowing yourself to build wealth a different way in parallel is such a powerful opportunity. So as I said, want to take 1,000 women on this journey with me by educating them and showcasing them other opportunities.
That's really beautiful. Before you tell me about the newest book that you're a part of, if someone wants to work with you, how can we do that?
Just reaching out, I think I put my little QR code up on the screen as well. So that's the best way to get in contact with me. And we started a little multifamily group in Atlanta where we're inviting more local people in. We even had people from Tennessee and from Florida joining and driving up. So that was very exciting. My goal is that my co-hosts and myself, that we're growing this group slowly. I'm very strong on core values. As I said, I call it no sharks allowed. I want to make sure we're inviting in slowly the right people to create an environment where people feel safe and openly can talk, and inviting people and other speakers in who support that core value structure, which comes back what I mentioned before, really listening to yourself and knowing what your core values are. One for me is really that trust building, ensuring that you're really, what you're saying is, what you're doing. Things can happen. I have always told that to the team and everybody working for me or with me. Things can happen, that's all okay. But you have to stand up for it, you have to own it. If I find afterwards, we have a lot of product in staging, a lot of furniture moving, there's a lot of pieces who can get damaged. There's things which can happen no matter where, no matter in what business. But I want to know it immediately. And I don't want to find out and ask for it. So I'm very strong on that. And people part is like, I execute on that. So one of the core values, you always have to stand up, and I execute. So I would have to let somebody go if they are against this core value principle of not owning it and not standing up for it. I think that is very important because it is a trust factor. If that is broken, you cannot recover it. I feel that is very strong. And I think we cannot be friends with everybody. You have to find your tribe. And I want to build and find the people who feel connected with my message, who think, okay, that is somebody I want to learn more about. So it's like the lighthouse. and it's sending out the light, and you have to attract, you have to guide the way, but you also want that people come to you and there's an attraction. So I try not to push and reinforce, I try to attract and let it come more natural. And I feel that this has really served me very well.
I think before we got started, we were having a little bit of an offline conversation about just letting energy flow. I thought that was really great.
Absolutely. I'm happy to say I'm very strong, and we'll talk about vibration and energy, because I strongly believe that we're all connected. Yes, somehow there's vibration and energy in this world. Specifically now, I feel we have that task, and the one we can do is to send a lot of positive energy out into this world, and therefore hopefully also attract this positive energy back to us. You find that too. You make connection, and there's sometimes some great people up there, very successful people, but you cannot connect with them. There's no vibration between you for whatever reason. There's multiple reasons. Maybe it is not on the same level, maybe the message is not right. But I feel if that attraction happens and if you're listening to it, you feel that the conversation and the energy, it's like that feeling that you can't stop. There's always something to add. It's not hard. It flows very easy. An example about attract, I was just coming back from a conference, and there was a company, they're just launching a new product. It's insurance focused in the short-term rental space. And he is originally from Atlanta. We had a short conversation after he spoke. And when I waited for my flight in the lounge, he was just coming by. So we immediately started a conversation. He was just on his way to present to the UK, London, and comes back. And said, okay, I want to give you my card. I was not asking for anything. So just a little conversation. And said, and come and I tour you. You meet my team, come to my headquarters, and we're touring the office. And so again, that was not enforced. It's happening. And I think it is a vibration you're putting out. That's the easiest way I can describe that. But it's only when your mindset and when you're aligned and your message is aligned, and it has to come truly from your heart. There can't be anything which is not heart-centered and not heartfelt.
That completely makes sense, because if it's not from your heart, then it's a different vibration altogether. So it's going to be more difficult for you to track, because there's no alignment within you or the message or the conviction you're giving or the help you want to create in this world. So I just think that's really beautiful. It sounds like you changed your strategy entirely once you understood more about just attraction and energy flow. What did that look like? What were you doing before, and what are you doing now, and how you go and find new clients?
I think in the past, I was driven towards goal and action. And now I am driven by that heart-centered connection and core values first, and relationship and value-driven connections. And that, I think it has a much higher return, and it feels natural, and it's fun, and it's not hard, it's not forced. But don't get me wrong, I have a very strategic approach in how and what events I am attending and how I'm connecting and in expanding reach. Of course, when you try something new, you have to be able to go some places you never have been, and you might not know somebody. But in general, I know I can connect with and can also ask for introductions. But again, it happens. If it's not happening, it's okay. But sometimes it happens in the bathroom. Really, it's funny. But I have a couple of bathroom stories where you just start a conversation with another amazing lady in a bathroom and something can happen.
So take bathroom breaks. This is what we've learned. Take care of yourself 100%, because while you're doing your self-care, you can also find an amazing opportunity and connect with somebody who you're meant to hang with. So I think that's great. Tell me about this newest book that you are a part of.
Yes, I believe Bibi is on it too. Jasmine is for sure in it as well. I'm still trying to learn all of the faces and all of the stories. So yeah, I think it's exciting. So it's about successful female women immigrants and entrepreneurs telling their story, where they were coming from, and for an amazing cause. I think that is what drives it together. And we had a couple of calls on that subject in the lounge as well. And it is amazing to hear the stories. And I know everybody will connect with their tribe because every story is different, and that's okay. We will connect. I know with some of you, some of our book and authors, we will connect and the connection will stay. And others, they have their tribe and reconnecting differently, and that's all okay. The amazing part is that we all send out this right energy and vibration for change. And that is what I love. Our world needs it, that positive and community impact, because all of us want to drive a certain element of community impact and therefore a little bit legacy build. How small or how big that might be, all of that matters.
Where are you traveling to next? What's next on your travel roster? Where can I meet you? What do you do?
Only a little bit North Carolina. My husband and I were like celebrating our over 20 years married, longer together. So that's a nice celebration. So we will most probably take a little trip. I never have stopped not taking vacations. I'm very different that way. I always negotiated my 6 to 8 weeks of vacation, no matter what I did. Never gave up on it and never will. I am traveling. I'm also outside the country at least 8 weeks a year. I'm always on the road. Some of that, I can take some of my business with me. I don't have to be always back. Last year, I had my first European conference. So I spoke in Lisbon and then spent over 2 weeks in either down at the Algarve, went down towards Spain, north up to Porto, explored there. I have an amazing network of international friends. I have invitations to many countries and places which I'm not even were able to all utilize yet. I know I will go to Morocco. I am invited in Fez. I'm invited in New Zealand. Nice thing when you work corporate for many years, you have people in a lot of places. And I am with my women friend have actually expanded my travel budget, multiplied that by 3 because we share, connect places. So I might have a companion ticket. I take somebody on a flight there. Somebody else has either a house there or has points and I stay there. So what I'm saying, if you have a goal and you love to travel, there's different ways to expand it. That's how I take my son. He has his flight to Europe. After I am in North Carolina in May, I will go to Spain, then I will be in Germany, and then I will be in Rhodes, Greece. So I will be out of the country for 3 weeks there as well. And more trips are planned. I just came back from skiing. I was in Salt Lake, combined also for a charity event of a friend. It was for cancer research. So again, I try to combine and always, there's always something you can give and you can do good too. So it's a combination. So travel is part. You will see me traveling every month.
That sounds so fun. And I don't know if you have just a class on how to get all these points and still negotiate extra time off of work, even though it's not within the allotted budget. Like, we don't know how you did that, but I'm sure if you wanted to do a class on that, it'd be sold out because we like vacation.
Absolutely. It's sometimes simple things. And we'll go offline, maybe when we also partial of you see us in Dallas or one of the next. It's not even a program. It is utilizing and having common goals as you're traveling with friends and making it together. Now, also, if you own property like us, short-term rentals, we have some in the mountains, some other people have them on the beach. There's other opportunities. It is really asking for that and building for that and developing it over the time.
That definitely makes sense and definitely something for all of us to consider. If you could say in one sentence the impact that you want to create in this world, what would it be?
It is As I mentioned it before, it is massive impact, utilizing energy. That's the one part. It is really that massive impact in mind shift change with your tribe. It doesn't have to be 100,000, but it has to be the right selected. I'm very much about niching and being very intentional and very deep. I do the same in my businesses. I think that aligns very well with me. So it is always quality over quantity in everything I'm driving. So with that, I want to create massive impact.
I love that you said that, because I'm working on a bit of a project and it's essentially exactly what you're saying. And I can't wait to get started on this project.
Excellent. Again, Steph, we talked about it, right? Create your power word, create your vision board, have it in front of you. I have it as screensaver in front of, it's really going on my screensaver every day. So I'm always reminded about my big goals. Nothing diverts from that. And evaluate everything you're doing against the top goals. They have to come first. That's your first priority. If you want to travel, it has to be a first priority. Nobody can take it away. This has to be a priority first, so that you always are reminded, okay, this is what I want to do. How will I accomplish that? How can I delegate more? How can I free myself up? What is it next? What is the highest priority? Because if you channel it and focus on it, you will achieve it. There's no question asked. You will.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Every time I talk to you, it's like more and more wisdom, and I'm just so thankful for watching Ladies Night with me, Steph Dablosky. I create wealthier women by providing exclusive access to private equity commercial real estate investments. If you're interested, check out my contact details in the description below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.